Kia ora and welcome to KidReports Demo presentation. This video contains a 360-degree view of KidReports program. So it includes the teacher app and portal, parent app and portal, and also the super user or the admin portal. So let's get started. Our company is called Mess IT. We are based in Auckland, and we have been serving a lot of centers since quite a few number of years now, mainly with their IT support and getting the software and hardware. We also help out with the educational pricing for the software, for example, Office 365 and the likes. And that's how we came across a lot of issues that the centers were facing in terms of their data and the pictures and the various things, the observations or the notes that the teachers were taking or the lists that they had to maintain on a day-to-day basis. So we came across a lot of questions from the business owners like, how do I cut down on my printing costs? How can I reduce the overall daily admin tasks? How can I generate daily detailed report on demand? And how can I send attachments, for example, newsletters, notices, meeting invites, and send that out to all the parents? And how can I save time? We also came across some questions from the parents where the parents would ask, can I have a personal memory album for my child? Can I get a copy of all the pictures when my child graduates out of the center? And is there an easy way to do that? And how can I keep up to date with what's happening at the center? Because in most cases, what would also happen is that you are not only educating the child, but you are also educating the family members or the parents in terms of how the learning is going and the various aspects of it as well. So, how can we share that in real time? Also, the parents wanted to share their own observations that they made at home, or perhaps they were at a family gathering, or they were on an overseas trip. How could they bring back those experiences and share what was going on over there with the teaching team? And then there were some questions from teachers. For example, how do we save photos individually under each child? We know that the teachers use cameras at the moment. Some of them also then sync those photos from their camera individually to the computers, where they would have a folder under their name or under the children's name. It's quite a bit of an involved process. And what happens when one of these devices basically crash or they no longer work? So what happens with all the data? So the question was, can we save photos as soon as they are clicked? The other one was, what about group photos? Let's say if I were to take a group of children and I were to have around a few photos for them, would it file away for them as well? How can I track parent responses? And will I be able to print it when I want? So we do understand that, we are getting up to speed with the technology. We would like all the parents to be able to use this technology as well. But I would also like to print it. And how would it look like when it gets printed? And how can I reduce the time spent in looking for the pictures for each child? Now that's a fact that the centers have to actually go through a lot of non-contact time. So there's a set non-contact time, but also it gets stretched not because the teachers are putting the quality writing into the stories. It gets stretched more so because of the time that gets spent in looking through all the pictures or sifting through all the photos and selecting the right one for the stories. So how can we make it possible so that the teachers, when they come in the non-contact time, they have all these information available to them so that they can kick into the learning story mode? So here we will look at the concept of a digital notebook. So what happens with KidReports is the app allows you to take the pictures, go through, maintain your checklists that you would do on a daily basis, and also allow you to capture the notes, the quick notes, anecdotals that you would normally go through on a daily basis, and it would file it away under the children's folders. So the way how KidReports works is that on a daily basis, the teaching team on the floor will capture anecdotals, pictures, videos for the children which gets filed away under the observations folder. And then during their non-contact time, when they make use of these observations, they can then create the learning stories. All of them is available through online storage or the online folders and can be accessible from anywhere. The real-time updates work in such a way that the teachers would record the activities and the information through the cloud will be sent out to either the parents' app or parents' emails. Again, in KidReports, as a center, you can choose to really finalize on what you would like the parents to see straight away and what would you like to actually put on the child's folder until such time that you feel appropriate to release it out to the parents. So there is a clear separation between the type of or the categories in which you can file away the day-to-day observations or the recordings. So these are some of the feedback or the experiences of the whānau that has been using KidReports. So the teachers use the tablets so they can share the information between the rooms, or if someone is in the playground and then the other teacher is inside, they can actually see what the other teacher has recorded. So the child is at the heart of the system. So if there are multiple teachers working with the child, they will all be able to see and share that information with each other. There is the ability to write a lot of assessment feedback. You are able to collect that information and make links with the curriculum. For example, Tifariki updated or 2017 is also available in KidReports along with the dispositions and schema. There are a lot of reports that allows you to review and reflect back on the center practices, whether you would like to go back 3 months or a quarter or a term. It's all available to you either in form of the web report or an Excel report. The parents love it and it is extremely user friendly. So from this point on, I'm going to take you into the program itself. So here I've got my teacher login. I'm going to log into the system. Okay, and I'm going to bring up what we call as the teacher app. So what you see on the screen right now is something that the teachers will be using on the floor with the children, and this is something that they will be running on their tablets or iPad. So you can choose either the Samsung or the Apple devices, and this is how it looks like. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of orientation around the tablet layout is there is a menu here. From within a menu you can access the sleep and the nappy charts, for example, and it looks something like this. The values that you see at the top, that's wet, dry, or other, or toilet training, that is all configurable. As part of KidReports install, what we do is we set up everything for you, and then we actually provide you training on how you can make changes to the program going forward. So that really gives you that understanding and also a means to actually make changes to the program. So that's the nappy chart. You can go forward. We can set it up at half an hour or an hour long intervals. That's how the sleep chart looks like. Some centers prefer to have a 5-minute check, others have a 10-minute check, and whatever you would like to select and record on, we can set it up that way. And this actually gets sent out to you in form of a report. So we will have a look at the reports a little bit later during my presentation, but if I'm ticking on it, and let's say if Pinky Teacher is logged in, then on the report you will actually be able to see the initial of the teacher and at what time it was actually ticked on the chart as well. So that's the main menu. Just beneath it you can see room names or age group names, so you can go from under twos to over twos. Some centers have their own names, so they can switch over from one group of children to another. And as you switch over, you can see the children on the top line there. And let's say that if there is any important information that you wish to save for the child, you can always save it under their profile. So I'll bring up Caitlin's profile here, and you can see that along with her date of birth, you will have some emergency contact information because she has got a nut allergy there, and also some of the likes and dislikes there. So you can put that information here where the staff don't have to run to the office to actually get that information, and it's readily available to them at their fingertips from the teacher's app. So the menu that you see on the left hand side, I'll spend a little bit time here. So in KidReports, it's a program that not only allows you to record learning stories in form of observations, but it also allows you to record your meals, nappy changes, sleep times, picture or a video if you wish to send out a daily update. You can also record your daily hazards. A checklist can be maintained there, the incident forms, a medicine register, a message or a parent reminders or parent notices could also be set up over here. So the three categories, the three colors that you see, one is the meals, that is in green, another one is the daily routine, which is in yellow, and the one administrative, which is in red. All of them are set up in such a way that when you record something, it gets sent out to the parents. Let's do one such recording. So let's say that I would like to send a message out to Caitlin's parents. So I'll select Caitlin here and I'll go, please bring, and I'll say, let's say sunscreen. Okay. Please pack it in the bag for Caitlin. So I'm just sending this message, saving it. So what I just did was, as a teacher, I sent out a quick reminder to the parents, which will then pop up a notification on their phone, and it will also send a message to them via an email. So I did that, and the message is sent out to the parents straight away. But if we explore the last category, that is the observations, and you see all A's marked next to the items there, that basically means that it doesn't get sent out to the parents, but instead it keeps on the child's folder until the time when the teacher or the head teacher feels it appropriate to release it. And A basically means it requires an approval, and these will be more kind of the curriculum nature based or your program planning based, something that you will be observing the child on. So now that we know that there are different categories, let's do maybe a couple. So I can go back and let's say I've selected John here, and I can go and do an incident. Maybe there was an incident that happened at the center where he got a small scratch while he was in the playground. So we can just say an incident happened. You can configure the reason why I'm showing you this form is purely so that you can get an idea of how in depth we can configure the forms in KidReports. So we can mark what was the area where it happened. We can say he just had a fall. Add that. It isn't a hazard, and we can put the other things. And here I'll just go maybe a small bruise there. And what was the action taken? So I'll say first aid, and also put a note, plaster applied, or I might just put a little bit more information around here, and I'll just say please don't worry. Now when I do that, I'll just sign my name as well, and I'll go save, and I will now finally save this. So what I have just done is there was an incident that happened for John, which I have recorded, and I have also signed over there, and this is the message that will get out to the parents. Again, as I said, we can choose to really configure what we would like we would like the parents to know in real time, and what we would like to just keep it on our file. Now let's do a group activity. So let's do art. So I can go and select Caitlin. I can go art. Let me say finger painting, and we had an amazing okay. So I put those notes there. I'll upload a picture. Let's say I'll go and select. Now the way how you upload a picture is you have got two options. One is you can straight away use the camera, capture the picture and put that into KidReports. The other one is where the teachers had a few pictures already saved in their gallery on the tablet, and now they can bring those pictures into KidReports. So I can also go select from the gallery, and I'll go save. So I have just saved an art activity for Caitlin. Let's say if the children were in the playground, or we were reading a storybook, or we were singing the songs, I could select all my children from here. So the way to do that is to come into the left hand side just underneath the room selection, and the list of all the children will appear. From here I can go and select my entire group or the room, or I can go and multi-select the kids that are present there. Go OK. So now on this left hand side corner you'll see that I'm recording this for 10 children. So I'll go 10, and here I might choose physical, and I will just upload a picture of them. Okay, not exactly a playground, but I'm choosing to put a picture here, put some notes there, and I would save. When I save this, what KidReports is going to do is, whether it's an anecdotal with some quick notes there and a photo, it will now save this photo and the notes individually under those 10 children. And I'll just save. Okay. So now this is a tool that the teachers will use on a day-to-day or on a daily basis, right? And it kind of works for them as a digital diary. So for an example, let me show you. Let's go back to yesterday. So from the calendar, I'm going to select yesterday's date. And here you can see that I did another photo. And there was an art activity there. And you can see a nappy change and an afternoon snack. So that was yesterday, and I can also go day before yesterday, or in fact any date that I want. This will be a digital diary, and I can also go back and edit those activities. So let's say that I took a picture and I made some notes. I can actually go back and edit those notes, and I can also change the picture if I want to. So the information is always available to the teachers, and it's as if they have got all the online folders available to them through this app. There are a few other things that the teachers can also do, like send messages out to the parents, and they can check the messages coming back from the parents, for example, learning story comments and things like that. But this is kind of in a nutshell what the teacher app looks like. Now let's have a look at the parent side of things. Now before we move on to the parents app, I just want to know if we are all good, if you have any questions.
No, we are all good for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're all good, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Haley, I see you are online and I'm hoping that you are following the presentation. Okay, so let's move to the parents app. So here I'm going to log in as Caitlin's mom, Angel. Going to sign in. So again, the parents will have access to the parent app as well as the portal. And I'm going to show you the parent app first. Okay, now one thing I have realized is that before I show you the parent app, I actually need to show you the teacher portal. Okay, so what is the teacher portal and what is the teacher app? The teacher app is the app on the device that the teachers will use on a daily basis just to capture the quick observations, quick photos or videos and have that recording available to them, but they are not spending time on the floor doing their learning stories. So for actually creating the learning stories, they will have to come to what we call as the teacher portal, which is accessible from the laptop or the computer. Now, why is there such a differentiation? It's purely because on a day-to-day basis, we want to have that balance where the teachers are capturing enough information, but they're not spending all that time on the devices, so that when the non-contact time kicks in, they can use that time to actually write their stories and really reflect on what was happening with the child as well. So let's take an example. I'll go to this learning stories folders here. And let's say that I am in my non-contact time and I need to create a learning story for Caitlin. So I'll go and select Caitlin's folder. From here, I'll click on Create New Learning Story button. And here you will be able to see the finger painting or the painting activity we did today. But you know what? I'm supposed to make a learning story for something that we did 2 weeks ago. So here, I'll just change my dates to, let's say, mid-August and go update. So what is now happening is that KidReports, because it has made a record of all the observations that has happened for the child, it will bring all these observations that were recorded under Caitlin and it will have it available for the teacher. So from this point onwards, I can say, okay, I remember this. We did this bird coloring activity and Caitlin had asked this. Or when Caitlin was playing with a couple of friends, this is what had happened. So from this point onwards, instead of the precious time that the teacher would normally spend in going through heaps of photos to figure out which one to use for the story, she can actually get started on her story here. And I would just give you an example of something that you would do in terms of working through the images. Now, this is a traffic lights photo and I've taken this photo from my office window. And to give an example, this photo does not relate to this story, this story that I'm writing on. So I can simply select this photo and I can delete it, right? And I'll bring up another picture, this one, into my table layout. Here you can also select the colors, change the background color, and you can basically start on my story here. And I keep writing as long as I want. So what happens is that this gives a quick learning creation mode to the teacher. She can go with the font selection and she can get started on her story from here. She can also go print preview to see how this story is coming up, but this makes it easy for the teacher to go straight into the learning story creation mode. Now let's take an example that if I were to delete this picture from my story, right, there is no need to panic because all those observations will still be available under the observations folder here. So we'll go down into the observations folder in a minute. But let's say that I'm doing my story and I might choose to either save it as a draft or I can just publish the story. Okay, so we've got a lot of pictures here. So I'm just going to cancel out of here without actually going and creating the story. Now, over a period of time, you will have a lot of stories for the child. And understanding Tefariki is a really complex thing because Tefariki itself is a very comprehensive curriculum. Now, to make the new teacher graduates or to make the parents understand how this Tefariki really weaves into the child's learning story is again a challenge. So looking at that, we have incorporated a program called Learning Roots and Shoots. And I'm going to show you how that program works. So let's say either on a draft story or a published story, a teacher could come and click on this tag button and she can tag the learning outcomes that relate to that story. So I could also have multiple learning outcomes related to a story and I simply save them to this story. Now what happens is, over the period of time, each learning outcome pops up a leaf on the learning tree. And it makes it visually possible for the teacher to see how the learning outcomes or how the curriculum learning has been happening with a certain child. And each child will have their own individually developed tree. And the beauty of this is that each color will relate to the root. So for example, a teacher has tagged a lot of well-being learning outcomes for Caitlin. And if you were to go in here, let's say if I click on this leaf, it actually tells you what was the learning story it relates to, right? So this is an excellent way for the teachers to really reflect back on their learning, but it is also a really good way for the parents to see how their child's learning is shaping up, because I can go back to the last year as well and the tree will be different last year purely because at that time the learning that was happening and the way how the observations were happening were different. So this gives a kind of really nice window or insight into the child's learning in terms of Tefariki to the teachers. So the 7 roots that you see are the 5 strands plus dispositions and schema, right? So that's how the teachers can be tagging the stories. Now, you can also bring up all that information later on in the reports. Now let's go into this observations folder. Now remember, as I said, that if I were to delete a few photos out of my story, it's not going to be deleted from the observations folder. What do I mean by that? So if I go under Caitlin's folder, you can see that there is a nice journal, time-wise journal of everything I have recorded, or as teachers we have recorded for Caitlin. And this information cannot be deleted from the system or the stories. This information is the evidence and it will be always there saved under each child. And each child can have the same or different information available within their folders. So now that we have seen how the learning stories get created, how they get linked to Tefariki, and also where the observations are saved, let's have a look into the parent side of things. So this is the parent portal, and again there are 2 parts to this. The parents, some of them would like to use their smartphone app to access what's happening. Some parents will check it online through their laptops or computers. So let's have a look into the parent app first. So if you remember, I had sent the sunscreen reminder to the parent. So the parent can see it on the phone here. Now, In addition to that, there is a memories section. So what happens in this memories section is that the parents can see all those little precious moments that have been captured by the teachers and released out to the parents in this quick to easy calendar. And they can go back to any month. And as I said, in most cases, what happens is that it is also kind of an educating process for the parents themselves. So sometimes there will be songs, karakia, let's say prayers, celebrations, and you might want to do a quick video and release it out to the parents. What happens is that when the child goes back home and maybe the parents ask, oh, so tell me, what did you do today? They might come up with a really random answer, but now the parents can really narrow down to that information, that okay, tell me what happened over here, and then hopefully the child will open up to share what they experienced during that moment in time. So, and again, the good thing about this is that while the child is growing up over the years, they can also go down this calendar to see how they have, or how the learning has actually evolved over the years as well. Um, and I'm going to show you later where the parents can actually save all these personal memories onto their personal media or folders as well. Messages. This is where the parents can send messages out to the centers or to the teachers, and all of that information is recorded in one place. And it's just as easy as just sending a message out to the parent from here. When the parents are out and about, they can go to their menu, they can go record event, select their child, select parent voice, and here they can really put the notes. And we know that the photos nowadays reside on our smartphones. So it's easy for the parents, let's say they attended a grandpa's birthday party, or they were overseas. They can put that information, upload a picture or a video, have those notes there, and they can publish them, which will then be available to the teachers. And the learning stories get displayed over the phone over here as well, from where they can simply comment on the stories, and the comments will then reach back out to the teachers. Let's have a look at the parent portal. So same thing that the parents were able to access on their smartphone app, they can also see it on the parent portal. So here all the pictures, the memory album will be here. You can go back to the month, and they can actually save, download, or print these pictures, again available to them. The learning stories all appear in here, and the same learning roots and shoots tree that we just saw will also be available to the parents, so that they can, or they are on the same page as the teachers as well. And again, clicking on that leaf will also take them to the story that was published. So I can click on the leaf and it takes them to the story as well. The parents have that opportunity to provide their quick comments on their story by adding a comment here, again, which will also be available to the teachers within their apps. When the child graduates out of the center and the parents would like to download all the pictures, not just a story but also pictures, they can simply select the date range and they can click on download media, in which case an email with a zipped folder will be sent out to the parents. Again, something that's really handy and really helps the parents as well to take away those memories. So that's the parent portal. And let's jump into what we call as the super user portal. So I'm going to log out, log in as. Now, what is a super user portal? So this is an access or the account that normally the center managers, head teachers will have access to, purely because they will be able to see and set up a lot more than the teachers. Okay, so there are heaps of things in here, but I'm going to touch on only 4 to 5 things, and also will then ask you if you have any questions. So the data that's set up in KidReports, as I said to you, when we install KidReports for you, we will ask for a copy of the data so that we can set it up for you, and you don't have to do that. But after that, as part of our first training session, we will actually give you a good walkthrough of this admin portal, and we will also show you how you can maintain this data or the information going forward. So one such example is, let's say, the family members. So here, let's say you will have your family members added in KidReports. You can actually check when was the last time they had logged into the program. Have you sent them a welcome email or not? And if you have sent them a welcome email, then did you have an invalid email? So if it was an invalid email, and if the parent is not receiving anything, then you definitely know where the problem is. If the parents still come back to you and they say, look, I haven't been receiving any learning stories, you can check if they had logged into KidReports, and if they haven't, then you can simply select on their record and you can resend welcome email. So again, something that's really handy. You can also see when was the last time they had logged in. So if they say that, oh, I haven't seen any new stories, you can perhaps tell them that, look, we haven't seen you logging in since last couple of weeks, and the story was released out in the last week. How about you log into KidReports to have a look? So that's where all that information resides normally. With children, remember how we could see the emergency contact information for Caitlin? So while we are setting up the children, you can put those additional notes there, and that's where the teachers can access that information on their teacher app. Now, I'll show you a little bit of the activities, or this is the area where we spend the most time when we train any new center. And the reason is that the flexibility that the program allows. For example, some centers, they for them it's compulsory to put all their meals and the food information. For other centers, the kids get their meals from home. They're only supposed to make a check and not actually required to take an in-depth notes. So again, for some centers, they will have a mat time or a magic moment that they would like to send out to the parents. They would like to have all their lists, their checklists, their forms added into KidReports, and also all the observations. So these are normally hidden from the parents. Yeah. But in saying that, we still have a few centers who are, who have very sensitive parents. So then what they do is they would lock this up. So let's say if there was a magic moment or a daily update kind of an activity that the teachers record, you can still lock this up, and it will then show up in the approval queue. So it can be released out from the approval queue. So you can also lock these up. But the reason why when we train the teachers, we keep it open so that the teachers then take the ownership and the accountability of what they're putting into the system instead of someone having to monitor that. I'll just give you an example of, let's say in physical, if I were to go into this, so creating or maintaining the lists within KidReports is really easy. So here under physical, I have got these activities set up, and where do you see them? You see them over here. So under teacher app. So once you set up, they are all visible under teacher app. Now, why is this important? The reason why this is important is because let's say you have used KidReports for 3 months or 6 months, and you wish to check on the usage, or you wish to reflect as a team. Then you can go through a report which is called an assessment report, and that allows you, and it looks something like this. So this report will actually allow you, within the date range that you specify, it will allow you to go back and look into what we have been doing together as a team. So a simple example would be, okay, we had a Samoan language week and we had Matariki festival celebration. Okay, how about having some other things now added into our program planning, so now the teachers can record it. So everything that the teachers have recorded over a period of time can be seen over here. Now this is an excellent mentoring tool for the new teachers, and it is also an excellent planning tool going forward for the team to say that, look, we have been doing this, how about we add this, or how about we add some other things here. So that's a copy of the assessment report. I will also show you how the sleep chart looks like, right? So this is a typical copy of a sleep chart where you can see, so that's PT is Pinky Teacher, so the initial of the teacher, and at what time the teacher had marked them in bed or asleep, and then the checks happen. In this case, it happens every 10 minutes. So you can see 12:10, 12:20, and 12:30. Yeah, and you can also see separate group of children. So one is under twos, another one is over twos. So you might have maybe a couple of children who still take a nap during daytime for over twos. So it will maintain those lists separately. The nappy chart looks something like this. Again, same deal. The time when the nappy change happened, and you can go hourly or you can go 2-hourly, whatever the case. A teacher story report looks something like this. So, you know, on maybe a monthly or a fortnightly basis, it is always a good idea to generate a report that will give you the insight into whether the teachers are keeping up to date with their learning story creation or not. And even in this report, you can filter it out whether it was published or draft or all. Let's say also the other thing that it allows you to do is let's say just for today, I can go back and just go search, and it will tell me everything I have recorded for this date. The reason why you see these pictures getting repeated is because it's saving that picture under each child separately. And I can also go to yesterday to do the same thing. So I can go just for yesterday and I can go search, and here you will see that some other things were recorded at that time. When you have a center, an event at the center, let's say parents evening or morning tea or something like that, and you would like to play some slideshow, you can go underneath the utilities menu, go to the slideshow option. Here you can select the dates, and you can also narrow it down to the activity. Let's say if I would like to only display Matariki or Mother's Day activity, I can do that from here. And I can just go. Okay, I'll just go all. Okay, and go. So this will just get all the pictures that were released out to the parents, and it will put it in a nice slideshow. So again, one more way where the parents will say, oh, I missed on this one. When did this happen? Or, you know, this was really nice. And just one more way of reinforcing what really happened at the center, or all the good work that was done, can be again brought back to life from here. And it just saves you from taking a copy of all the photos on the USB and then plugging into your gallery TV or your computer, just saving that hassle. If you want to send out messages to the parents, either the whole of the center or per room, or even per child. It can all be done from here. You can attach the files and you can send it out to them. There is no problem. If there are any attachments, the parents can simply open that up on their phone as well. Observations we've already covered. This is where you see them. And this is the approval queue. So what is the approval queue? As I mentioned to you, if you're not very sure what the teachers are putting out into the program and you would like to have one more level where it can be checked before it gets out to the parents, we can simply set it up so that it comes in the approval queue. Same happens with the learning stories as well. So we can set it up per teacher, where some teachers will be more senior to other teachers, and for the new teachers maybe you would like to have this option where they can only send the story for an approval, and once you see that story, you can from here you can release it out, or you can send that back to the teachers. The center-wide policies or policies for the parents or teachers or the entire center can all be drafted and can be published from here. And again, it's the same thing. The parents see it on their parent app and the portal, and same with the teachers. So that basically brings me to the end of, it was quite a lengthy presentation. Are there any questions?